We're gonna review this. Yeah, this is the only review we're gonna do today. For good reason. This is probably one we're gonna have a lot to talk about. This is an interesting one. I think we both really enjoyed it. This is a movie about where Hugh Grant plays Mr. Reed, an elderly gentleman who lives in a nice Utah town with his wife and two missionaries from the Mormon church, two young ladies, go to, tell them about their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He invites them in without them. They're supposed to meet the wife, but they just went in turns out there is no wife and they're locked in. This is going to be a spoiler review. We're going to get into it a lot. So I don't want to share it now, but first of all, where do we start? I don't know where to go down the gown on this before we even talk about what we think of it.
Let's talk technical first, because I want to hear more of your expert opinion technically, what you liked about shots. Because I know I love shit, but I want to hear you.
This movie I will say this. It's a good movie all the way through. I didn't like the tag on ending, but some people will, so I don't hate it either. Like when I say I didn't like it, it's just that I could stop it right before that and I'd be fine. That would be perfect for me. And it really is just a quick thing. That's why I don't think I'm mad at it. It just feels so A24 tagged on. Right?
Yeah.
A24 loves to do that. They love to tag little stuff on. It feels like a really good movie all the way through, and it's this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like it should be here. But I'm sure the writers wrote it in. I'm just messing with them. But if this isn't all right, I'm gonna make a bold statement because you said technical. I'm gonna talk writing first.
Yes.
If this movie is not nominated, which it won't be, for an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, unless it is adapted, but I don't think it is. I haven't heard anything about it being adapted. So Best Original Screenplay, if it is not, then of course I can continue my crusade in saying that the Academy Awards is a bunch of horseshit fakeness and they don't do anything right, because this script and the way and Hugh Grant should be nominated for. I mean, I don't know. I might have to the two young ladies who give the performance, but I don't know their names.
Right.
And if a performance completely knocks me down, I'm going to find out your name.
Right.
So that's nothing against them. That's just a personal preference. That's a personal way I rate things. I don't care how anybody else does it. And honestly, I'm going to go and look up both of them because they both gave insanely great performances. I just don't think that it was Oscar caliber, but if they keep it up,
all right.
I definitely see it. But Hugh Grant led that charge.
Oh my God.
Every scene was chewed up by him, and he delivered such an intense performance. I said this to you off the air, I'm saying it to you again. I think this is Hugh Grant in this role is as good or better, because you get more of it, than Anthony Hopkins is Hannibal Lecter.
I can agree. I can agree with that.
He as Mr. Reed, so let's go technical. So that I said about writing, the writing is phenomenal. The acting is phenomenal. There are three people. Well, actually, there's four people in this movie, and I didn't know. Well, there's a lot more, but I'm talking about four main sort of characters in this movie. Topher Grace was the minister.
Yeah,
I didn't catch he had blondish hair and he had the glasses. I did not catch on to it being him. That was so odd. I loved it though. So technical wise, cinematography was phenomenal. Sound was phenomenal. The editing, first of all, cinematography, visual effects, writing, acting. Just for that one scene where you creep up with the camera into the model and see her running in the model just to see her run out of the model past you. Brilliant on all ends. On all fronts, that's brilliant in filmmaking. That's a technical achievement because it has such a great effect there. And it makes you feel the emotion, because when she comes in, you get startled. You're like, she was just in the thing.
Right.
You're like, what's going on here? So basically, the whole story, whole premise is around religion. And he's putting these young ladies to the ringer and testing their faith in huge ways. Really, really in sinister ways too. But the whole first hour of the movie is really just the three of them in a couple of different settings, and him for the most part talking. Now, I don't want to take anything away from their performances, because I did pull up the young ladies' names. Sophie Thatcher plays Sister Barnes, who was the woman in black. And then Sister Paxton was Chloe East, who was the young lady who was like kind of the dorky one. They I think they were trying to portray her as mousy, dorky, and kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Which, let me tell you, when she starts analyzing everything and is spot on, and you're like, man, she's so good. Like, and I love that the filmmakers, this is a technical thing too, the filmmakers follow her eyes all of their eyes really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when you see, again, it was Sophie Thatcher, Sister Barnes, and she discovers the candle. And that's not even like there's so many moments in this movie that make you go, wow, like that is unnerving in a way that is, I'm just unsettled for life, right? And that's I think that's the blueberry.
Yeah,
the blueberry candle. Because in the movie, for everybody who's watching and listening, like, and again, this is spoilers, guys. I think I mentioned in the beginning, and it's definitely in descriptions and stuff, and we'll talk about it. He says that his wife's making a blueberry pie, and he's talking to the young ladies, and he's in this nice living room setting, and it's very unalarming and such. Then he comes in, he brings them drinks, and there's like a candle on it, and then like they smell the blueberry, they're like so excited to have blueberry pie. I wanted blueberry pie, it was so good. And like the whole thing's going well, and it's a pleasant conversation, but it's a testing conversation.
Yeah,
he has such a way about him, and the way he talks about things, and the way he asks questions and kind of prods them, but it's unalarming. But at the same time, they're like, but is this right? Like, should we be talking like this? Or like, nothing sexual. Again, this is really about religion and discovering of religion. Okay, so to answer that technically, like, and then to bring them into the back room that's religious, the one where it's like, what? We don't know much about religion when we talk about it, and then bring him back to his little church. It was such a great flip that they did. So technically, this movie is a marvel. This is one of the best horror movies of the year. One of the best movies of the year too. Absolutely. So far for me. Sorry, I lost my breath on that because I talked so goddamn much. Please talk about the technical side on your end.
Oh, I mean, so I'm trying to study, if you will, or study movies better to watch the camera angles, and those camera angles were so telling, just in themselves, of the power of play, who was bigger in the shots, who was taking up more of the shot, who's the higher person in the shot. They did a marvelous job depicting. So you already knew, like, you could have watched that with no words, no audio, and known essentially who was in a power play and who was dominating those scenes. And they shot that beautifully. Like you said, they could follow the eyes. Like, I almost want to watch it at home when it comes out with nothing on, just to watch them and really just be forced to watch all the visuals, because they did a great job, shot for shot. I was in awe of this movie. I was like, holy fuck, why are more people not talking about this? It was amazing. I was blown away by it. Hugh Grant is terrifying in the fact that he's able to almost belittle their mindsets, but also encourage it, but also tell them what's up. And it's just, it really makes you think about someone like Charles Manson or any of these actual serial killers. And it's like that, how he portrayed that. That's 100% how I envisioned those gentlemen. Just enough of a, almost an asshole where you're like, but then you're like, oh, but you're teaching me something, but you're also drawing me in at the same time. It's like, that's someone I could see most people falling for. So he did a great job.
And not to step on that, to go back to the Hannibal Lecter thing, it's like, that was the thing about Hannibal Lecter. Like, he was very enticing. He was very, like, drew you in, and very charming. And I love that about his character, but you didn't get enough of it. With Hugh Grant, you get a whole movie of him just like everything he's doing, and it's so methodical and it's so thought out. And I just thought that was just a really beautifully told story with him at the helm of like what's going on in the catastrophe of all of this.
Yes.
There's a scene I want to talk about and see what you think of it. The Monopoly scene.
Right.
So he brings him into his like little church room or whatever, and he has him sit down on the pews. He's like, just listen to me. He's like, you and in this place where they feel at home in like a church type of setting with an altar there, they're sitting in pews. They should feel safe. They should feel this is religion. This is what they know, and they're desperately trying to. And the thing I love about their performance is they're calm the whole time. They never freak out. They never like. When she lashes out at him, she's trying something. She's not. The only other time they freak out is try to get up the steps when he's gone, but it's not a freak out. they are racing up the steps because they know they have a limited amount of time to get to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
So like, again, like everything on their end is like methodical, but it's like received. It's like, what's he talking about? Where are we going with this? And the fact that he's like, you can leave anytime you want. You just have to leave out of the back. You gotta go through this door if you don't believe in God. You have to go through this door if you do believe in God. Oh, and does their faith get them in trouble?
True.
And that's what I liked about the sister Paxton character too. She was the mousy one who was Chloe East played her. Again, I'm not pretending I know this. I pulled it up. She's sort of the lead in it with him, and don't take any sort of like, don't take that as a hidden message or anything like that. But she is sort of the lead. She plays like this really smart character. They both do, but she like is like secretively smart. She has a history that they don't ever really kind of let you know. But she's very clever. She catches on to things, and she's got a great mind for piecing the puzzle together. And every time she gets a little bit more, and now that's what makes it so interesting about Hugh Grant's character being in control the whole time, is that by the time you get to the end and she's explaining the end and realizes it's almost like a video game in a weird way. She learns so much all the way through the journey that by the time you get to the end and she's explaining exactly what religion is and all this other stuff and what she's learned and how she learned it, it's really kind of very interesting to see the levels they take as you go through it. What about you? What do you think about that Monopoly scene in particular? I thought him explaining religion through that, and if you want to take it away and tell them about it.
I really enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me, I don't know if any of you guys as listeners have watched it, but I remember watching Zeitgeist. If you ever watched that, I guess, documentary, if you will, that came out, early 2000s. Just talking about all the religions and how similar a lot of them are, honestly. Anyway, so it was nice having that regurgitated, I think, in a very easy way that most people can understand. Because, I mean, who doesn't know Monopoly? So I think that was a good visualization for him to show those girls that, but also as an audience member, I think for some people that aren't necessarily super spiritual or even, care, let's say, I think it was a good enough representation that you don't have to be religious to understand what he's saying, that he, Monopoly. And it was a very good way of showing what he's trying to say.
It was all the beautiful levels of what he was doing too. And like, I caught on to it, and like I could see why maybe somebody who might be religious might not catch on to it as quick. And I'm not that's not a dumbification in any way. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but like, to where he was going in terms of in that instance where it was like they're all copies of copies of copies, because he doesn't let you know right off the bat,
right?
And he does it in such a subtle way with the music. Well, you remember, you don't know this song, you've heard it before, and then he talks about Creep, and then when he plays that later, and like, everything is sort of a copy of a copy everywhere. So, and like, he has all the pictures up of all the copies of like different religions and all the names, and like, as he's explaining them. But when he pulls out the Monopoly games, he talks about the three big religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Muslim. And he talks about those three, and then he discusses it in a way that's like, well, we know Judaism, I guess, was the first one. I think he said Judaism, right? Yeah, I think he said Judaism that's like the farthest back or whatever we can find. And then I think they put Christianity next. And then, oh no, I don't exactly know how I laid it out. But the way he was saying it was like, they're all copies and copies of copies. And he put this game called Landlords.
Which is a real game.
Yeah, no, I looked it up.
Yeah, same. That's like, after the movie, I was like,
I was like, that's cool. It's like, so I mean, that's not cool that they had their game stolen, but it was like, and he's explaining, he's like, these women came up with this game, Landlords, whatever, I can't remember the name of it, back in the day, only for somebody to see it, love it, patent it, bring it to Marker Brothers, and make it Monopoly. And then like the next, like this, and then now you have Monopoly, whatever, and then like you have this, and then, like, it was just, I'm trying not to do a service on here because I want you to go see it. But by the end of that conversation, I'm like, God damn, like they should be showing this like on the big, like everywhere, like just this conversation.
Right.
But this movie is good. But by the time, what did you think about the back half of it once they get down into it's sort of, I don't want to say it's a lair, but it's sort of like this spot where he keeps these women that he calls prophets, which again, there's more of a twist to it. When you think this, like, we're not even spoiling anything, because when you think this movie zigs, it zags and then zigs again, and then like throws you for another loop and takes you down all these things, but it's never doesn't make sense, which I think I love the most. So what did you think about the back half though? Because I didn't love the back half.
I'd say if I split up into quarters, that last quarter, that's where A24 did what A24 always does, and that's where they lost probably 2 points. This probably would have been solid 8.5 for me before that end. To me personally, that's the only part I felt like the writer just, or the director, whoever, just kind of took a cop-out way of making you wonder what actually happens. And since we said spoilers are around, did she actually die? That's why she's seen the butterfly, or is that her friend coming back as a butterfly?
Why did it disappear? Is it actually a simulation? So they left it. Yeah, to me, they left it too open. What I would have done was, like, first of all, get the simulation thing out of there. Like I'm not. It worked. It worked when he was talking about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're still kind of kicking, because then that I know, and I realize why they do it, because it's like, well, was he right about any of them? And it's like, yeah, no, I don't need that. I didn't even need the butterfly.
No,
I didn't even need her to say that about the butterfly.
Nope.
That's the only thing that was like, I wish you didn't say it. And like, I get what you're trying to say, or maybe their thing is it is a simulation. That's what this is. So
possibly.
I don't like, again. It wasn't a great ending for me. I would have ended it before that. Like, she just got out, and then that was. Because then it still leaves it open. You're not answering any questions. People will still be like, well, is it real? Is it not real? What happened? Like, what's going on here? It's crazy. That felt very tacked on, but it is in there. They talk about it. But even when she tells that story, I'm just like, I don't know. It's nice. Yeah. It's a nice thing. I guess. But yeah. Overall, though, like, my rating for this was 3.5, and you gave it a 3, right? So out of 5. I did enjoy this. I hope you guys go check it out. Paul, I think you enjoyed it too. I think it was one of the best movies of the year. Keep in mind, it hasn't been a great year.
That's true too.
But if this was a good year of movies, this would be well done in them. You would know Heretic. Yes. People are going to talk about Hugh Grant's performance if they see this movie, for sure. Everybody's performance was great, except for Topher Grace. I didn't know it was him.
I had tilted sideways. I had asked Matt about it. I was like, "Is that Topher?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, I was just making sure you look, you might notice him."
That's the second celebrity surprise from a horror movie this year, because the first one is Strange Darling, because Giovanni Ribisi was the cinematographer on that movie. And it's just like, it was just like kind of out of place. Like, I wouldn't expect to hear Giovanni. I think he did a great job. I like the movie, but no, I just didn't expect to hear him,
Right.
But that's our ratings for, thanks for checking this out for Heretic. Go check it out.